Kia ora, welcome to the Invisible Sensei podcast. This is a podcast about my experiences as a martial artist, as a student, as a teacher, as someone who from time to time has stubbed their toes on the problems of the world and kind of gone, what am I doing this for? Please take time to check out the link in the description. It will take you to our YouTube channel and also to our profiles on social media, which you're most welcome to check out and contact us on. We also have a wonderful merch shop where you can grab cups and a couple of other things if you're wanting to support the podcast, or if you're wanting to support it more directly, we have a link that you can do that also. Either way, enjoy the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and keep training, keep smiling, keep enjoying, and most importantly, keep developing. It was like, before doing this podcast, I've just been sitting here with Josh and Michael, my mouse hovering over the record button because there's a whole lot of stuff that, to be totally honest, I would have had to edit out before we even started. So I want to welcome two of my best friends, Sensei Michael Hagen, Sensei Josh Simmers. Sensei Josh Simmers over the. Can you do your tagline, man? Go.
When you put pressure on me. Thank you for tuning into the Invisible Sensei podcast, coming to you from New Zealand, the only karate podcast coming to you from New Zealand, the birthplace of Tori Dawson.
Okay, well, if you've done that, then I'm going to have to do the my OKP one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
One man, apparently one microphone at one volume, an ill-fitting gi, Chuck Norris style haircut, long beard. Welcome to the Okinawa Karate Podcast, coming to you from the home of karate, Okinawa, Japan. Okay, so
the birthplace.
I think that you've got to do that, and also now that you've done. Actually, Josh, you have to do the Apex opening. I don't know.
He doesn't have an opening. Oh, he doesn't have a standard opening. Oh yes, he does. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Apex Karate. Welcome back to Apex Karate Performance. I'm Coach Michael Hagen, Chief Instructor here at Apex Karate Performance, and today I'm going to talk to you about my thoughts on the proper Maegeri, because I was watching some people, specifically a guy in New Zealand named Tori Dawson, execute a Maegeri and it sucked. So therefore I have to come to you and put out this video to teach the proper Maegeri. Okay? You got it? Now, wait.
That was pretty good, actually.
That's amazing.
Wait, I got to do the ending. The ending is now get to work and we'll see you out there.
That's right.
Oh, yeah,
Go get to work and we'll see you out there.
Go get to work and we'll see you out there.
I'm thinking that you need to actually put that on another thing. I recorded a Okinawa Karate Podcast opening, but we can't, for purposes of wanting to keep subscribers, I can't play it. But so what's your favorite opening? Actually, what's your
Look, I gotta cut you off for just a moment because this is melting, so I gotta eat it. But this is in honor of you. I was gonna wait until you mentioned the reason that we're all together, but I gotta eat this now.
What is the reason we're all together?
This is
Well, I'll tell you what the reason we're all together is. We are going to celebrate the 200th episode of the Invisible Sensei podcast, which I think is about 5 times as much as both Josh and my podcast put together.
Because you guys have got lives. Hey, well, at this juncture, for those of you who are listening, I'll tell you what we're doing. But now is where we do our shameless plug for our merch. Hey, hold on a sec. Hey, Josh.
This is a shameless plug for Blue Seal. Yes.
What's that shirt you're wearing? That looks amazing.
This shirt is the finest shirt called the Okinawa Karate Podcast shirt, the only podcast shirt coming to you from the birthplace of karate, Okinawa, Japan. And you can get this on Spreadshop if you go out there and you do a search for Okinawa Karate Podcast, or I can send you a link. And right now they're pretty cheap because I lowered the prices to about a buck above cost.
Hey,
mainly because I was ordering a bunch of them.
Fun, man. That's behind the scenes stuff, bro. Hey,
yeah, it is.
Hagen Sensei, I see you're in
Yes,
the dojo. What set of apparel
I
you're
am.
wearing?
Well, thank you for asking there, Mr. Dawson. This is actually, this is not
Mr.
something that you can
Dawson.
buy on Spreadshirt or Spreadshop, because this is the original Team Apex team T-shirt that you have to be a member of Apex, and we're not making this shirt anymore. So this is first gen. However, if you do visit our link tree and find our shop, you can get some awesome Team Apex Karate Performance gear. So go check it out.
Going to an Apex Karate Podcast. Hey, but if I'm wanting to learn, if I'm wanting to do something a little bit different, listening to something a little bit different with, let's say, two practitioners with different experiences, what podcast might I listen to there, Hagen Sensei?
Well, if you were so inclined to listening to, I mean, I don't know how we could get beyond what we've got here with Invisible Sensei and Okinawa Karate Podcast and Apex Karate Performance, but if you were still looking for more exciting and dramatic karate discussions, you could head over to The Way of the Fist, brought to you by yours truly and my co-host, Jonathan Seavey. Way of the Fist 2018. Go check it out.
Hey, I'm
Highly
just gonna.
recommend it.
That was exciting. I'm gonna take a drink from my cup, which is kind of getting a bit warm, to be honest.
Oh man, I
I'm gonna
think
hold
you
it
need
this
some
way.
new merch.
I think
need
you
some
need some
merch.
new merch. Absolutely.
But I mean, where would we go? Where would we go to get some merch? Well, it's interesting you ask. In the description for this episode and every episode, there's a link to the link tree where you can purchase yourself this amazing mug, which makes your life better. You make better decisions, and coffee is always good. Good. Thanks.
Listen, gentlemen, I'm not trying to be rude by eating this coffee or eating this cake and ice cream in front of you, but this was for the celebration of the 200th episode of the Invisible Sensei podcast. And I wanted to actually get a candle. Yes.
You know what's really
Actually.
chapping me about that? It's not that you're eating ice cream in front of us. That's fine. It's that you're eating Blue Seal ice cream.
Blue Seal ice cream.
That can
from
only be
Okinawa,
found
Japan.
in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate.
That's right. And if I didn't stop drinking beer, and if this wasn't during my work hours, I'd enjoy an Odeon beer for you. But this is an NA podcast. No alcohol.
You know, if anything,
It's still early. It's still early.
If you've managed to continue listening this long, thanks, Mom.
Thanks, James, Malia.
But this is for me. You know, coming up to the 200th podcast, it's interesting that Josh and Michael are on because Josh in particular is a big reason why I started doing the podcast, Invisible Sensei podcast. So I was listening to Josh's podcast and going, man, this is really cool. He talks to lots of different people, and there was sort of some ones that you had done, especially around the unfortunate passing of your sensei's wife, where you kind of really got an insight into the culture of Okinawa, not just karate. And I'd actually seen Michael's YouTube channel and was kind of really super impressed with just the way he was able to break techniques down and make them less stressful to the body. And so, it's really funny that we're having this conversation. Michael, Josh, and I, we catch up on the regular, probably too regularly, if I'm being completely honest. But no, it's really
According
good
to
have
our
you guys
wives,
here
it's probably too regularly.
But it's really good to have you guys here. Thank you so much. 200. I never thought I would get here. It's been a mission at times, but you both have been a big part of keeping me motivated. Hopefully we're all keeping each other motivated to continue. So it's been cool, man. It's been real cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say likewise because we got introduced to Ari and I through our work with Bujin TV, and that's kind of how I found out about the Invisible Sensei podcast, and it quickly became one of my go-to podcasts that I listen to, and almost every time I find something in there that I can relate to, and so I wanted to say thank you for having us on today.
Thanks, bro. No, cool. That's cool. I feel likewise with you and Josh, actually.
I forgot that's when you guys met. It seems like you've known each other longer. Actually, it seems like we've all known each other longer. But I thanks. I really do appreciate this a lot for bringing us on for the 200th episode and for all the conversations we've had offline and online. The ones that shall never be repeated. The ones that typically are just you and I talking about Michael. Those are my favorite. But
well, it's funny that you say those are your favorite because the ones where Tuari and I talk about you are my favorites.
You guys do that? You talk about
yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's like.
In fact, Tuari will call me right after yours and tell me all the things that you said about me, so that I can talk about you.
I feel like
I knew he was like the 10-year-old of the group. I knew it. Hey, listen to what Josh said.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. I just feel like no. What I do, let me explain to you. Okay, so I'll call Michael. We'll have a conversation. I will paraphrase what Michael says, and I'll read into it, and then I'll tell you what I think Michael said about you, and then we'll do the same. And I'll call Michael back after having recorded, but then I'll edit it so that to cause disharmony. Divide and conquer, man.
And then about 24 hours later, Michael will call me or I'll come. Hey, did you hear what this idiot said the other day? Is this true? No, it's not true. My gosh. Because he's got cool tattoos and a bald head. He thinks he can go around, and he wants to be all invisible.
It's like Telly Savalas, except bigger.
Because he's got that nice 1970s background music playing during his podcast, right? I mean, holy cow.
Jealousy is the ugliest of all emotions, and I hope that you find the cause of that pain, Josh. That cause of that, is it jealousy? Yeah. But it's okay because I'm going to edit this up to make myself really cool. Hey, if you come back with something,
Michael, I said I mentioned something to Twardy like a year ago about his background music. I was like, yeah, I like the background music that you got in your videos, in your podcast, because I do, And he's like, oh, I can make some for you, and I was like, all right. Well, I was thinking about it, but then I could probably make my own too. But then I started getting some of that 70s vibe he's been on lately, and it's like, I don't know what type of podcast you think you're making here, but it's not like soft porn type stuff going on. So that's weird. Well, I'm waiting for like the great big collars and the.
I didn't think in those terms. I just thought. So just so you know, Josh, I mean, you won't see it much in when you're recording, but it's called funk, and I have it. So
Well, there's some funk, all right.
Yeah, there is.
It's
I
like
wash my feet after every class.
Like a junior high school boys' locker room.
Wow.
I recorded an episode on washing the obi just to get the funk out. Okay.
Right.
You sure you wanted to invite us to this party?
It used to be. So if you're listening to this or you're watching this, you see.
If you're still here.
Started? Yeah, if you're still here, this is where the fight started. It was right here. Okay, it was right here, right now. But dragging it.
And the best part is, we've never all been together at the same time. I mean, in person, right? But one day we will.
What?
I'm not sure if I want that to be here.
I think that part needs to get edited.
I wasn't talking about that, man. My gosh. Get the background music.
Well, you're the one who went to. You're the one who went to. Your music sounds like a '70s porn movie.
I said be together. Did I? Isn't that what I said? That's what
we're gonna be together.
Okay, whatever.
We're all gonna be together.
We're gonna be together. Well, we've never been together, but we're gonna be together. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure that translates.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah, I'm not judging.
I meant training, guys. Training.
Yeah. Okay. Well, euphemisms. But there's going to be so much editing done on this.
So what do you have in mind for the 201st episode?
Okay. Well, I've got actually a really good interview with the host of the Okinawa Karate Podcast, actually. And
you're going to do that one, are you? I thought you did that already.
We did that one, but then some clumsy fool in New Zealand, devilishly handsome, incredibly talented,
devilishly handsome
karate.
Key on that devilish part.
Yeah.
But he something happened. The internet was against
forgot
him.
to push record or
the
something.
CIA
yeah.
might have been involved. They just didn't.
Yeah.
It was just too much fire. and that so they just.
So we'll record it again. That's
We'll
okay. You
record
can
it
send the
again.
check again.
Yeah.
Double pay is fine. Fine by
It'll
me.
bounce again. You can turn it into a trampoline for your kids.
I'll take one Bitcoin.
So, for me, one of the things that I find with doing this, and you tell me what you think, I want to talk about interviewing. Because, we obviously in our podcast and Invisible Sensei, it started because I literally I originally did a kind of vlog and talked about the Invisible Sensei as the kind of person who sort of works in the background. I've had sensei that, they'll do things where if a family can't afford, they'll kind of go and buy gift for them, or, they'll waive fees and just do these really wonderful things that no one ever sees. And sometimes that kid comes for a week, So there's all this sort of stuff that happens that people never see. These men and women who make big sacrifices for their students. And that's where the Invisible Sensei kind of came from. So with OKP and Apex and Way of the Fist, how do you guys, what's your ethos? If you could put it, what's the idea behind the OKP? So let's start with you, Josh. Where did OKP come from for you?
So the idea for me was because I was listening to podcasts in the States, not only martial arts related, but different podcasts. I had a pretty long commute in the car when I was living back there. And when I moved over here to Japan, I don't have a commute. I mean, I work from home. I have a commute, of course, when I'm driving my kids to school or whatever, but I still listen to podcasts, right? And so throughout the day when I'm here working, I would be listening to podcasts. And I remember when I was in the States, I always wanted to know what was going on in Okinawa. I would buy magazines if I could, or read blogs, and then listen to podcasts and try to watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. When I got over here, I guess I moved over here in 2015. I guess it was about 2017. I started chewing on this idea of, why not make my own podcast? Why not just put something out there and see, number one, see if I enjoy it, and then see if other people enjoy it. So that's what I did. I started to read up a little bit and find out what you need to do, which to host a podcast, you guys know, is pretty easy. I mean, you can record literally on your cell phone, and there are hosting sites that are free. The one that I use is not, but it wasn't that much work to get started. Once you get past the fear factor, because nobody likes to hear themselves talk, and you think, gosh, I sound like an idiot. Who's going to want to listen to this? Once you get past that and you kind of just get to the point of, well, I don't care. If people listen, they're going to listen. If they don't, they're not. But you kind of almost become a little bit selfish and make it about you. But then quickly I found out how much I did enjoy it, and how much I enjoyed meeting people here on the island and sharing information back to the real world, to the U.S., to New Zealand, to people in China. And it's fun watching the metrics on the podcast hosting sites, and you can see around the world where people are listening to you, right? It's kind of remarkable. You find, I mean, I've actually had to go and Google some of these countries. I don't even know where these places are located when you see who's listening to me here. And one of the things specifically that I try to do with the Okinawa Karate Podcast, and I still am, is I really want to do in-person interviews as much as possible. Of course, COVID pretty much destroyed that opportunity for 2 years now. But for me, I wanted to always meet the person first, get an opportunity to hopefully train with them, or at least sit down, have a cup of coffee or something, and know a little bit more about the person, and then try to interview them in a hope that it kind of comes across a little bit more as a conversation rather than a scripted question by question interview, and try to get it going a little bit more free flowing. And I met you guys through it, right? I mean, we probably never would have crossed paths. I've met Jonathan CV through it, Jonathan Ebersol. I mean, countless other people that I'm friends with, and people that I have mad respect for, all different ranks, different styles of karate and stuff like that. So it started out something almost as a just kind of rolling the dice, and then became something that I got more passionate about, and still am. And then I turned that into videos. A lot more of what I've been doing has been videos, right? So I haven't recorded an audio only episode in 1 year, but I've had videos, and I've worked on some very fun projects with that you guys have been part of, even from afar. and I know you'll be a part of in the future as well. So yeah, that's the quick rundown of the Okinawa Karate Podcast.
For you, Michael, on the Apex and on some of the stuff that you've been involved in, and you're a national champion, a competitor, a coach, and you're talking to people who competed in the Olympics. You know these people. What is it like? So for you with the Apex, what's, I guess, same question. What's been your journey from starting to doing it? What's some of the trends and things you've noted?
Well, so I kind of started a little bit in the reverse from Josh, actually. Apex started as, um, it's a coaching initiative, a training initiative for people who, you know, even though I come from a, quote, traditional background in karate and Yamaniryu Bojutsu, I was a national team member a long time ago, competed in WKF World Championships, Pan American Championships, and things like that a long time ago, but then started working with some athletes who wanted to try and, some junior athletes predominantly at first who wanted to join the national team. And then so we started training, and then Apex kind of was born out of that as to how can we help people, regardless of style and things like that, achieve their goals competitively. And one of our ethos is using good karate to do that. So that was kind of the start of Apex. And then I started a YouTube channel where I put out some videos like you've referenced, my Getty video and things like that, some basic tips. And about I guess close to 2.5 years ago now, I started what I called my Thursday Thoughts series. And that was started as videos also, but more of not so much the technical aspects, but some of the mental aspects, mental framework, things that you need to be successful, predominantly in a competitive environment, but not necessarily. I mean, things that are applicable to day-to-day life. And I never really intended to do a podcast. And it was actually through Josh and then you who encouraged me to actually transition my Thursday thoughts into a podcast format. Because when I went back and, like you said, I looked at, like, Josh referenced the analytics and stuff like that, I would go back in and the videos of views, it was never for, when I was looking at my channel, what was successful on the channel or what got the most coverage was not so much the Thursday thoughts, but rather, because that's just me looking at a video and talking to the screen, whereas the technical things proved to be more popular. So with you guys' support, I transitioned that portion of the Apex channel into a podcast format. And then over time, one of my other good, karate friends, Jonathan Seavey, who we've known for a long time, we decided to get together and and start the Way of the Fist podcast as a means to get beyond the competitive side, right? We would have long conversations about karate, for years. We would get on and do a FaceTime and talk for an hour and a half, just about certain aspects of karate. And, it was like, well, we should do something about this and make this a more structured thing. For the question about interviews, so two different things. I've only done a few interviews themselves for Apex. And those have been U.S. national team member athletes. The first one was Gakuji Tozaki, and the second one was Ariel Torres. So, and my goal for those when I interview people is I want to find out what makes them successful, right? And that's kind of transitioned. I've changed my format a little bit in the questions that I ask a little bit, but I don't really care that somebody started karate when they were 12 at the YMCA or at the dojo or whatever. I want to know what caused them to be successful, because it's not so much for me. What can they give them a platform to the knowledge that they've accrued, their abilities to help other people become successful, right? So that's like, if you'll notice when I spoke with Ariel after the Olympics, some of those were the questions, like, not so much, well, what did you do at this tournament, but what did you learn from that tournament? What came out of that, and how did it make you better? When we go to the Way of the Fist, it's a little bit different, because both of you guys have been on there, and in a similar way, we don't necessarily care so much what people's background were, and I went to this dojo and I did that, but we want to talk to them about what makes their karate tick, or what makes them tick about karate. Why do they love about karate? And so we try to have, we've only had, one interview with you guys yet, but we have a list of people that we do want to have on the podcast. And so those are the type of things that we want to talk about, or what we plan to do is take, Jonathan and I, when we have a podcast, we usually have a topic, and then we'll debate it. And sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't agree. But our intention moving forward with more interviews is that exactly. Like we'll propose today's topic is this, and then we can have a discussion about that rather than just simply people's pedigree of, what dojo they went to or what kata they know and things like that. So that's kind of where our focus is on interviews. But like I said, I think I've been interviewed more times than I've actually interviewed people on podcasts as of yet still.
I always think it's like I always get kind of a little bit of a thrill. I think I've been interviewed I've been interviewed by Josh, and like you and Jonathan interviewing me and Josh at the same time. Like it's a cool thing. It sort of feels like it's kind of like a kid in a candy store, really, because it's this sort of it's kind of surreal. Um, one of the things that's been kind of come out of this is
you had mentioned something that that one of the reasons you got into podcasting is because you listened to mine and you thought, yeah, I'm going to try it as well. Is that because you thought if this idiot can do it, then anybody can? You're like,